Hello everybody, how are you doing? So I'm gonna talk to you about okay. I'm talking to you about the book of Zechariah. So in Zechariah chapter 4, I'm talking about some olive trees that are mentioned here, okay? So there's a vision of a lampstand and olive trees, okay? So now the angel who talked with me came back and wakened me as a man who was wakened out of his sleep. And he said to me, "What do you see?" So I said, "I am looking, and there's a lampstand of solid gold with a bowl on top of it. And on the stand, 7 lamps with 7 pipes to the 7 lamps. 2 olive trees are by it, one at the right of the bowl and the other at its left." So I answered and spoke to the angel who talked with me, saying, "What are these, my Lord?" Then the angel who talked with me answered and said to me, "Do you not know what these are?" And I said, "No, my Lord." So he answered and said to me, "This is the word of the Adonai to Zerubbabel. He says, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Adonai of hosts." And then, so there's a little bit more detail here. So I don't have to go through this detail here, but I'm going to keep reading from, I'll just start from 8, okay? "Moreover, the word of the Adonai came to me, saying, The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this temple. His hands also shall finish it. Then you will know that the Adonai of hosts has sent me to you. For who has despised the day of small things? For these 7 rejoice to see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. They are the eyes of the Adonai, which scan to and fro throughout the whole earth." Okay, so now here's the part that I'm more discussing, okay? So verse 11, it says, "Then I answered and said to him, What are these 2 olive trees, one at the right of the lampstand and the other at its left? And I further answered and said to him, What are these 2 olive branches that drip into the receptacles of the 2 gold pipes, from which the golden oil drains?" Then he answered me and said, Do you not know what these are?" And I said, "No, my Lord." So he said, "These are the 2 anointed ones who stand beside the Adonai of the whole earth." Okay? So if you're aware of me at all, like if you heard of anything that I've spoken of in the past, I was kind of focused on this chapter years ago. Like I saw it and it struck me, and so other parts of it made sense. And I was trying to figure out, well, who are these 2 olive trees, or the olive branches, or who are these 2 anointed ones? Okay, so as I read the scripture today, it kind of struck me the different areas that I needed to go to figure out that information. Okay, so I'm going to glance at my notes and just tell you which scripture comes first. Okay, so so I'm going to go to Jeremiah 11. Okay, because I noticed in my scripture reading that I saw a mention of olive trees, like, "You are my lovely green olive tree." And so I was like wondering, where did I find it? So I had to go back and look. Okay, so I'm in Jeremiah chapter 11, and so this scripture is talking about, well, I have a reference for another video that I did. I did a video about be careful who you prophesy to. So at the beginning of Jeremiah chapter 11, not really at the beginning, but at about verse 11 to 13, 14. Okay, so it's explaining how the cities of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem will go and cry to the gods whom they offer incense to, but they will not save them at all in the time of their trouble. It says, "For according to the number of your cities were your gods." So I was reading from Ezekiel, I think, about, I didn't write it on this note page here, but I was reading something about be careful who you prophesy to. So it's saying that this group of people, they had a number of gods that they sacrificed to, okay? And they set up altars to that shameful thing to burn incense to B dash dash L, okay? That's what I say when I don't want to call out the name of an idol, okay? So anyway, so it says, "Therefore do not pray for this people or lift up a cry or a prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry out to me because of their trouble." So he was saying, I was saying, be careful who you prophesy to. If you know that somebody is serving idols and they don't even hide it, just kind of be careful that when they're calling out to you for help, you maybe don't speak to them. You go pray first and ask before you speak about the situation, so you don't get yourself in trouble to, pick up the iniquity that they're having based on what they're doing, okay? So I couldn't write that in the notes or in the comments section on the video because it was a live stream video. So that was about be careful who you prophesy to, okay? That might not be the exact title, but be careful prophets, okay? So anyway, so what I was discussing a while ago about the green olive tree, I'm in chapter 11, verse 15. So it's right after what I just said. Don't pray for this people or lift up a cry for them because they're serving idols, okay? So anyway, verse 15, it says, what has my beloved to do in my house? Having done lewd deeds with many. So they were serving idols, and they were, they were dealing with other gods. So it's kind of like a jealous God says, worship only me. So to him, that's kind of like harlotry, okay? So anyway, it says, having done lewd deeds with many, and the holy flesh has passed from you. So maybe a miscarriage or something like that. And and then it says, when you do evil, then you rejoice. And then it says, the Adonai has called your name green olive tree, lovely and good fruit. With the noise of a great tumult, he has kindled fire on it, and its branches are broken. So I was wondering, well, I see it saying green olive tree, and I know I'm reading in Zechariah about green or olive trees, right? So I was like, well, who is it? Who are these people that he's speaking to? Okay, so he's talking to the house of Israel and the house of Judah because they provoking him to anger and offering incense to Baal. Okay, this might not specify someone specifically. Okay, let me see if I can find anything else here. This is in the book of Jeremiah. And so I really don't know. But he said, what has my beloved to do in my house? So there could be a specific person. So this answer, because I'm trying to figure out who are the two olive trees. So this answer does not maybe get clarified right now. It's kind of vague. But it has something to do with the cities of Judah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I wanted to get more in depth so I can get an exact answer as to who was one of the olive trees, okay? So anyway, so this is an example of what I was talking about in regard to the green olive tree. Now, where did I see green olive tree elsewhere in the Bible? Because I know I saw it multiple places. So now I want to turn to Psalm 52. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Because of what it's explaining here, so I may not have figured out who the green olive tree was, but there was a detail here. He said, because you're serving idols, firstly, when you pray, I'm not going to listen to you. Secondly, he said, because you're doing things with other people, you probably miscarried whatever I was trying to birth out of you. And then he says something about, I guess because he's upset with this group of people because what they're doing, he basically, so we're talking about a green olive tree. So it's a tree, it has branches. So basically it's like a tree that's being cut down and destroyed by fire because of the actions that they're doing, okay? So there are two olive trees. So one of them wasn't doing the right thing, and so it was cut down and burned up, okay? So now I'm going to flip over to Psalm. So now I'm in Psalm, let me make sure I'm checking correctly. I'm in Psalm 52, okay? So this is a contemplation of David, okay? It has something to do with when Saul, it has something to do with Saul, okay? So David left and he went somewhere else. So I don't know if I can say this name correctly. Ahimelech, okay? He went to this house. So David kind of fled away maybe. And so anyway, so the way that this psalm starts, it says, why do you boast in evil, O mighty man? The goodness of Aravad endures continually. And so it's about somebody being naughty, and then I'll just read it just so you can hear. Okay, so your tongue devises destruction like a sharp razor. Well, let's not do that because it's talking about a wicked person. So let's learn what not to do when I'm reading the parts that sound negative, okay? So, like a sharp razor working deceitfully, you love evil more than good and lying rather than speaking righteousness. What does that mean? That means let's do the right thing and don't like lie. Don't love evil more than good. Let's love goodness and not evil, okay? And let's be careful how we use our tongues, okay? So it's saying you love all devouring words, so be careful not to be so negative and critical of other people. And then it says you deceitful tongue. Okay, so there's a comment here about the Creator is going to deal with you, and then so you know how David uses his words, and he's kind of probably getting upset. Okay, so anyway, so in verse 8, so this is kind of David speaking, but in verse 8 he says, "But I am like a green olive tree in the house of Arabah. I trust in the mercy of my Elohim forever and ever." He says, "I will praise you forever because you have done it, and in the presence of your saints. I will wait on your name, for it is good." Okay? So this is David kind of speaking, and he said, "But I am like a green olive tree." So in the first case, we didn't really see a name of a person, but we saw actions. And the actions that we saw in the first example in Jeremiah was that of idolatry, harlotry, just generally not such good behaviors, okay? So because of that, they got a bad repercussion of their actions. And this was Judah and or the inhabitants of Jerusalem, okay? House of Judah, house of Israel. So this is the people as a whole, okay? So let's not operate in that way. That doesn't really describe who specifically one of those green olive trees was, but you get the drift. Like, let's not misbehave. Let's be, the olive tree that gets to stay, that gets well taken care of and people get to eat its fruit, okay? So, but we do have a definition of the person who is speaking here in Psalm, whereas this is David speaking, okay? So, now I'm gonna say one more thing about Jeremiah. So in Jeremiah, it's kind of explaining about two houses, because I first thought that we were talking about Jerusalem. So, to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, okay? So that's what the first, so it's saying you guys are idolizing, you're misbehaving, pouring out yourselves to other nations or to other gods, and the Creator's upset with them. So I wanted to make a side note here. In Ezekiel 17:22 to 24. 17:22 to 24. So this is explaining something about Israel. So in Jeremiah, it was explaining about, I think that it was Jerusalem and the inhabitants of Judah, which is kind of tricky because I don't want to play one nation against another. So I may not say too much about it. But this is just going to be a general just example. I'm not going to be on one house versus another house. Okay? But what happens in Ezekiel 22 to 24 is that a branch, so there is a tree, okay, a cedar tree, branches of a high cedar tree. He's going to take one of the branches of the high cedar tree and set it out. He will crop off from the top most of its young twigs, a tender one, and will plant it on a high and prominent mountain. And he says, on the mountain height of Israel he will plant it, okay? He says, and it will bring forth boughs and bear fruit and be a majestic cedar. So it's a great big cedar on the top of a mountain. Under it will dwell birds of every sort. In the shadow of its branches they will dwell. And all the trees of the field shall know that I, the Adonai, have brought down the high tree and exalted the low tree, dried up the green tree and made the dry tree flourish. I, the Adonai, have spoken and done it. So maybe in this case, maybe I missed the rest of the story here. Because maybe I was just adding some. I was talking about in Jeremiah that when we whore out ourselves and when we idolize and do all these things that the Creator doesn't want us to do, and He's like, well, you're not bearing good fruit, and then He's upset with us, and then He's like, well, it's in the same way how sometimes we sit on high because we just were given that ability to, but then sometimes He can say, well, you have favor on one day, but now it's the one who had no favor is going to get the favor now. Maybe because that person was doing the right thing, okay? So let's see how that works. So right now I'm going to go to, Let me see. I'm going to go back to, because I don't know if you got the point, and I also don't know if my video time limit is up. So I'm going to bring my Bible maybe, and let me go look at the time, because I did kind of tell you what I wanted to state. Let's see. Okay, I still had a few minutes. So let me grab my Bible here, since I'm already up, and explain to you any other details that I need to explain to you, okay? That was my placeholder. Okay, so let me see. So I'm back in Zechariah. Let me see if there's anything else I need to tell you. Okay? So it was explained at the end of Zechariah was saying, that was in Zechariah 4. He was saying, these are the two anointed ones who stand beside the Adonai of the whole earth. Okay? So maybe one of those anointed ones. So really, okay, when it comes to David, we know that David had a branch coming out of the root of Jesse. I actually spoke about that earlier. So for definite, somebody from the house of David has a branch. And so we're talking about 2 olive trees. We're also talking about 2 olive branches that drip into the receptacles of the 2 gold pipes. Okay? So I have 1 olive tree figured out. The other olive tree has something to do with either, and I'm not sure if it's the same olive tree that I'm clarifying, and maybe there's more olive tree definitions that maybe I'm missing. But I do have at least 1 olive tree and a branch, okay? But there may be another olive tree and a branch, but if it continues to go in the wrong way, if it continues to idolize, if it continues to whore itself out and worship other gods, okay? Then that branch, I don't know how far it's going to go. And so that was why I was talking about the cedar tree, because if you had all the favor in the world, right? But then you end up like, it's kind of that story of Jerusalem, the Jerusalem story that I had, where Jerusalem was the underdog, and then with all the investment of the Creator making it so beautiful that it had the potential to do so much. But then at the same time, when we say, well, I'm not going to serve you, Creator, I'm going to do my own thing, sometimes He gets mad and He allows us to go through things. So in this case, I'm not sure if 1 olive tree had all the favor and then it was doing the wrong thing and then it lost it. And then the other olive tree, I don't know, because David was so humble and he loved the Creator with his whole heart. If you keep to either your first love or continue to love the Creator wholly with your whole heart, maybe you can continue to serve in His house. So, okay, it's just a message. I hope you understood the message, okay? And I hope you guys appreciate. Like, subscribe, share, or comment, okay? Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.